Welcome to Skills for Life, a podcast about high-demand jobs that are shaping future opportunities. This show is brought to you by the North Shore Schools Foundation. I'm Dorrian, your host and a North Shore mom. Let's get started. Well, today on the show, I'm speaking with Noah Bell-Cruz, Senior Designer/Director at People. Noah, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kira. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk with you. I feel like we haven't done a ton of arts topics on this show yet. And as a person in the arts myself, I'm so stoked to get to speak with you. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Awesome.
So let's just start by talking about, what does a senior designer/director do? What does People do? Tell us a little bit about your work.
So I'm a graphic designer in the Seattle area. As Kira mentioned, I'm with People. We're a boutique design and interactive agency in Capitol Hill, Seattle. I've been with People for most of my career, and I hold a senior design director role, which means most of my job is strictly designing away all day, meeting with clients, but also collaborating with other designers and producers. We're a small team of 10 people. And when you're working in a small graphic team, a lot of people wear different hats because there's just a lot of work to go around. So we each bring different skill sets to the table. I'd say 80% of my workday is designing, whereas 20% might be devoted to more of an HR role or filling our social calendar, organizing company events, which actually I need to do after this for our holiday party. So graphic design is basically a form of visual communication. So much like a writer uses words to communicate their story or message, a graphic designer uses a collection of, I'd say, carefully curated visual elements like photography, color, typography, or symbols and illustrations to communicate their message. So you'll see this in the form of logo and branding work, letterheads, posters, website design, anything that the public sees visually anywhere in the world, from wayfinding signage at the airport, maybe, to even the cover of this podcast that you clicked on to get into this podcast. So our visual language is really all around us, and it takes a graphic designer to create that visual message.
So do you work primarily with the client themselves, the company that you are rebranding or designing for, or are you working with advertising agencies, or both?
Kind of both. I'd say, we work with, small mom and pop shops locally, but we also work with large agencies or firms that are our clients needing work. Because we are 10 people, we are comprised of producers, which kind of do the new business. They handle the new business. They talk to clients and kind of get that kickoff discovery meeting started. And then that's when the designer comes in and speaks with the client as well to kind of get a jump start on the project. So it's a very collaborative effort between the client and the designer and the producer itself.
So tell us a little bit about how you got here. What does your career path look like? You said you've been with People for most of your career. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did in high school, what you studied in college, all those things?
Yeah, so I would say I was always considered the art kid. The kid always sketching in his notebook in the back of class and always kind of involved in the arts. I never really was able to define that as a designer. It was more just like a kid that liked art and liked to draw. And it wasn't until I was 11 years old, my parents brought home this Mac, one of the first generation Mac computers. It was called the Macintosh SE, which is now obviously Apple or Mac. And it was stocked with this app called Print Shop, which created you were able to kind of do DIY certificates and banners and greeting cards. And it was at that point where I kind of fell in love with the idea of design and creating beyond just fine art and painting. It really taught me how to kind of visually see things in layout form. Then fast forward to high school, I filled every elective with art class, whether it was painting or pottery or sketching. And that's when I really kind of came into my own, knowing that, art was a passion that I had and I wanted to have a career with it. But still, I didn't really quite know what graphic design was. And so then I enrolled at Western Washington University up in Bellingham, Washington. And I, again, took some foundation courses. That's when graphic design was offered. And I remember I was in this one graphic design class, and they had us take 10 shapes, 10, I think, black geometric shapes. And they said, with these shapes, create a lion. And so I did. I took these shapes and I created the form of a lion, which, the end goal was to create a logo. And I loved the idea of this using concept in this kind of almost gameplay to create this graphic. It was at that point where it kind of clicked that this was the career path for me, being able to create with intent and and concept behind it. And it kind of took off from there. At that point, I was like, okay, design is what I want to do. And then I enrolled and transferred actually to Cornish College of the Arts and got my BFA in graphic design there. And actually, that's where I found People as an intern. So I started there, and the rest is kind of history.
Wow, that is so amazing. And I think for so many people who are interested in the arts, this question comes up of, I love this art and I love this work, and I'd also like a paycheck. And, how do I bridge that gap? And I think you are a great example of someone who's done that. So thank you for sharing all that. I'm curious how you see the industry transforming over the next 5 to 10 years as our students are coming out into the workplace with technology advancing, with even the concept of branding, I feel like has taken off very differently in the past 5 years or so. What are your thoughts on what it might look like as we move forward?
Right. Well, I think, right now you see so much visual noise out there. So both good and bad. I think, we're all glued to our phones and bombarded all day with social media, targeted advertising, online shopping, a million streaming services. And there's a lot of product out there fighting for competition. And everyone's goal is to stand out ultimately. We have a running joke in our office where every client requests to make it pop, or make their project stand out, or make my logo bigger. In our office, we even installed a neon sign that says "Make it pop" as kind of a wink to our clients. So I think as designers, our job is to help clarify the message, turn down the volume on the visual noise in a very clear, aesthetically pleasing way, so everyone can really stand out.
Yeah, I love that. So what kind of skills do you think someone needs to be successful in this field? Beyond art skills, it sounds like that's really essential, obviously. But in terms of what you just said, being able to clarify the message, being able, to create a brand that stands out, what kind of skills do these students need to be developing, and how can they develop them even now in high school? Are there things that they can be doing?
Communication skills are really key. Clients are coming to you with something that's very personal to them. They're wanting you to brand them. So the ability to kind of come to the table with almost some customer service experience, learn how to talk to people and communicate with them and really get the best results and listen to them is really important. I also feel that just knowing your audience is really important. Every project comes with a different set of requirements, and knowing your audience and defining them from the get-go really makes for a successful outcome, because you can design and cater to that. And I think just in generally, the idea of layout and knowing how to spatially work a page and having that background in art will really come in beneficial when designing.
I'm curious, you mentioned an internship. Let's talk about that kind of thing. Are internships available for high school students, for kids that are just out of college? What if students aren't interested in pursuing a college degree? What would you recommend then? Are there entry-level positions that people can work their way up? Let's talk about that for a second.
Well, first of all, I would suggest looking into your local AIGA chapter. AIGA is the American Institute of Graphic Arts, and they have a student resource section on their website that actually, compare students up with internship opportunities nationwide, and also local agencies that are looking for junior design level work. So that's a really good opportunity there. Also, to give the School of Visual Concepts a little plug here in Seattle, they offer design workshops and mentorship programs where students can come to their program, be assigned a professional leader in the field that can mentor them and kind of round out their portfolio for a successful outcome.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't think I realized there were so many opportunities for people who are just looking to kind of start. So I'm curious then, you talked about you took every art class. Would you say that's necessary for design? Are there classes you wish you'd taken now that you're a little bit on the business side as well, or the communications that you talked about?
You want to come equipped with as many skills as you can to create a product. I'd also want to say, don't be afraid to partnership or collaborate with other artists when working on a project. There's often times where there's a skill that I don't have that for example, video production. If I'm working on some visual animations, but I don't necessarily know how to produce video, I'll bring in a professional in that sense. If I'm working on a website, I don't consider myself a web developer. So I'll learn the language to speak with web developers so that I can pass off my designs to them and speak to them. An architect doesn't build their house. They hire a designer to do that. So it applies in design as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but can you tell us a little bit about what you love about your job? I mean, you've been at People for basically your entire career. You must enjoy it. So
I do. And I get asked this quite a bit. And I think because we're constantly churning out new projects, and every project is different. There's a new audience, a new set of requirements. Projects themselves are different. So at one point, I'll be working on a website, but also maybe a packaging project for a beverage or a beer brewery or a brochure for someone. So there's always fresh new work coming in, so that I don't get stagnant. I'd say also working in a collaborative environment, post-pandemic, things are a little bit different, working remotely. But when I do have the opportunity to work side by side with other designers, it's just great to kind of roll over to someone's desk, get some feedback, share ideas. And it's there's never a dull moment, really. There are the nights where you kind of burn the midnight oil and there are some long deadlines, but those are worth it to see your great work out in the world.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I mean, it must be incredible to see your art out there and your designs out there. Do you still sketch?
I do, actually. I love to do it. And I really try as much as possible when starting, for example, a branding or identity project, to really take pencil to paper and start there. It's so easy just to hop right on screen and start digitizing. But I think there's a missed opportunity when you skip the step of really going analog and sketching out some ideas.
I love that. All right, final question, Noah. I'm curious. I've been asking all my guests this lately. If you could look your 18-year-old self in the face and give him some words of wisdom, a piece of advice that you would also pass on to the students and parents that might be listening to the show, what would it be?
That's a really good question. I would say that it's okay not to know everything. You have your entire professional lifetime ahead of you. So take design risks, be bold, think outside the box. I personally live by the motto, the biggest mistake you can make is being afraid to make one. And I think that holds true with any career, but design as well.
Oh, I love that. Noah, thank you so much for sharing all of this today. I think it's such an important thing for the students, that are the art kids or in the arts in school to hear that there is work and financially rewarding work, emotionally rewarding, artistically rewarding work out there. Just a really important topic. So thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. And can I give a shameless plug?
Oh, please.
Okay.
Please.
For any students or parents that would love to connect, feel free to hit me up at noah@people-people.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Noah. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Great talking to you.
We hope you'll join us again, and remember to hit subscribe to be notified about upcoming episodes. Join the conversation on our Facebook page, Build Skills for Life. That's Build Skills, the number 4, and then the word life. Are you interested in advertising as a sponsor for this podcast? Contact us at podcast@nsdfoundation.org. To learn more about the North Shore Schools Foundation, visit us at northshoreschoolsfoundation.org. Thanks for listening.